Dr. Feelgood are a pub rock band from Canvey Island in Essex, or at least that's where their origins were, which was pretty close to London. They got into the pub circuit in London after they were formed in 1971. They were fronted by a guy called Lee Brillo, and the guitarist was definitely part of their initial sound was a guy called Wilco Johnson, who I've come across in other situations. Particularly, he was with Bill Haley, not Bill Haley, Ian Dury and the Blockheads. So they became popular in London and were particularly known for the fact that they brought blues and R&B into their rock, unlike quite a few of the other kind of pub rock bands at that time. The recordings then made them more widely popular, and they're generally regarded as being part of the forerunners of punk in some ways, just with the kind of the immediacy of the music, but also with their clothing style, particularly using drainpipe trousers and stuff like that. In 1977, Wilco left. He didn't agree anymore with Brillo, and that's when, and a little bit after that, he went to the Blockheads. But Dr. Feelgood kept going. They nearly stopped in 1994 when Brillo died of cancer, but they still managed to keep going. They've kept changing members, and they are still going. They have created over the years 18 albums, but only 2 of them since the turn of the century. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is a live album by the band Dr. Feelgood. It's my first time listening to it, and I'm going to throw several different kind of genre ideas here as a kind of broad description of this. So I'm going to throw in R&B, blues rock. So by R&B, I mean kind of old style. Think Blues Brothers, pub rock. I'll come back to that in a minute. And proto punk. Again, I'm going to pick that apart as well just a bit. So pub rock is a term that's been used for a certain kind of music. Of course, that's what a genre name is. But this kind of music kind of grew out of um, a, a very vibrant pub and club scene in London in the 70s. And I would claim that it's kind of the precursor to punk in some ways, maybe the precursor to new wave, although all of that's quite a bit fluid, and some of it is, it's artificial putting labels on things. But my limited understanding of this is that it came about at a time when a lot of rock music was getting more and more flamboyant, and particularly there was glam rock and there was prog rock, where people were dressing up and doing grandiose music. In glam, the music wasn't as grandiose, but um, the outfits certainly were. And in prog, everything was kind of up for grabs of being this big fantasy thing. People who looked like they came out of Lord of the Rings and songs that came out of Lord of the Rings, etc. And there was, as often is the case when there's some kind of movement in music where a whole lot of stuff goes in one direction, there's a counter movement. And so this pub rock scene emerged where it was definitely the thing not to be flamboyant and not to dress up. Everybody was dressed kind of normally, if you like. The kind of casual is kind of maybe felt a bit heartland, like Bruce Springsteen's kind of jeans and t-shirt image and that kind of thing. And the songs were kind of straightforward and just kind of slap them down, leave them, but with quite a bit of energy to it. So not in the same um, to the same extent that punk was when that came along. And in my head, I'm still separating British punk and American punk quite a lot. I think of British punk as being this big kind of reaction against the kind of more flamboyant stuff, although some of the dress stuff from particularly Sex Pistols was quite interesting and weird. Anyway, um, So these guys, I don't think they set off thinking we are going to be proto-punk, because punk obviously hadn't happened at that point. But it was a thing that was happening in Britain that kind of led into the punk scene, and maybe, as I said, led um, more clearly to new wave. Although I, for many years, thought new wave came out of punk. Right, let's stop doing all this genre stuff and go back to this album. So it's blues rock based stuff, and there's very much a focus here, which sounds like on the electric guitar, which is a guy called Wilco, who was a very well thought of guitar player, and it is kind of centered around him and the singing, certainly, but it would be easy to then forget the bass and drums that's going on here, and they do contribute strongly to the feel that we've got here. It is a live album, and it's this kind of music, so it's got a roughness to it, it's got a straightforwardness to it, it's got an energy to it. So it's a whole lot of things that people, there are people who absolutely love this sort of thing. And I'm reasonably in favour of it. Most of the songs are most of the songs are their own material, but they've got covers here of Chuck Berry, Solomon Burke, Bo Diddley, Rufus Thomas, and Sonny Boy Williamson, and then maybe somebody I missed as well. So a lot of so Chuck Berry was rock and roll, but some of these others were blues, that kind of stuff. So if you like raw-ish energy played competently but not showing off by being clever and virtuoso, then you might really like this. I feel like this is a really good representation of what a gig of theirs might like. It feels like the sort of gig that would work in a kind of student union size venue. By this stage, I think they were playing larger venues than that. This was somewhat recorded at Sheffield City Hall, so that's kind of the next level up, I guess, of venues. What do I think? Did I enjoy it? Yeah, it's all right. It's never going to be one of my favourite albums, but I do get why it's on this list. I think there are some good qualities to this, so I was mildly up for this album. As always, I'd love to know what you think of this album. Particularly, I always enjoy it when I hear from people who are real fans of an album. But if you hate it or you've got a mediocre, whatever your response is, please do share. And that's it from me for now.
When I was a little boy, at the age of 5, kept something in my pocket, keep a lot of folks alive.